Islam Makhachev fans must be stopped. The moment that they hear the word ducked, they get triggered. I made a video about how John Jones has been ducking Tom Aspinall and how Islam Makhachev ducked Ilia Topuria, and they probably didn't even make it to the part of John Jones ducking Aspinall. The moment that they see that Islam Makhachev is ducking Ilia Topuria, which he did, they get triggered and they go straight to the comment section to let it all out. And that's what they did. And that's what we're going to go over in this video right here. Because some of these comments, bro, are insane. And bro, these Islam fans decide to like go overdrive on the comment section, bro. These guys, we're gonna start off with calm showers, man. Cause whatever. Horrible take, please lay off the crack pipe. I'm not even an Islam fan, but Ilia just entered the division. If he beats Charles, then yes, by all means, fight Islam. But you have to fight another contender first. And using Chunin as your source for your arguments says it all. I used the Chill Sunin video as like, you know, for you guys to watch the rest of my video. You know, a little clickbaity action, but these guys take everything to heart. I think this was an undercover Islam fan, but I go after him and say, UFC fans want the best fights. We want the best fights, bro. Even every single MMA YouTuber you watch wants the best fights, and they were all saying that the best fight that was gonna happen was Ilia versus Islam. And Islam said that, and anyone that would make 155, come fight him. So why didn't he fight Ilia? And it was because he was scared. This guy goes on to say, Makhachev, that's my homie right there, subscribe. This guy goes on to say, what do you mean? Why did he move up so late? He moved up straight as Bilal lost. Like, bro, first of all, he's saying that why did Ilia, I'm guessing this is what he's saying, because I don't know, they get so mad that they just like start typing or writing and they don't know what they're saying. But I'm guessing he's saying, why did Ilia move up so late? Straight after Bilal lost, when obviously in the UFC press conference they were saying if Bilal lost, they were gonna make the fight. They had already like had a, you know, agreement with Islam. And he goes, bro, literally legit ran through the division. Oliveira, Volk, Armin, Dustin. He still doesn't deserve a title shot after 4 title defenses. Brother, his title defenses, I'm gonna get to it in the comments, but he says, but Ilia can after 1 title defense. Like, what is this stuff? If Ilia really wants Islam, move up to welterweight and fight him. Then if he beats Oliveira, Islam can be double champ. If Ilia can be, I don't understand the problem. I don't understand, like, there's no like grammar or punctuation for some of these guys. But if you're like, you're saying if Ilia really wants to fight Islam, move up to welterweight if he beats Charles. That might actually happen, brother. That might actually have to happen, but dude, some of these guys just don't make sense. So I come after him and say, Islam took no damage against Moicano. He could have fought Ilia, then moved up. And the first fight, and first of all, Islam's title defenses are Volkanovski twice. The first fight was close. Second one was Volk on 10 days notice. An old Dustin Poirier and Moicano on 1 day's notice. If you take away Volk's wins, if you take away the Volk wins, his title defense has been easy. That's why they wanted to make the Armin fight again. They wanted to make the Armin fight again, but obviously this man was spinning his head for Nina drama and destroyed his back. Ilia is looking for the big fights. He beat Volk and Max, and when Islam beat Moicano and said, I want to fight anyone that makes 155, when Ilia moved up, he got scared and ducked him. Even his manager said that they would rather make the Patty fight. I don't have a problem with Islam moving up, but he ducked Topuria when the UFC wanted to make the fight. And it's true, the UFC wanted to make this fight, and he ducked Ilia Topuria. Now, we're going to get to the traffic 849, because this dude right here, me and this man battled it out, and he kind of went a little bit emotional and when we were battling it out. But I'm pretty sure this guy traffics kids. That's why he has the traffic. But he goes, Ilya's a duck. He ran away from risky fights in the featherweight division. And I go, who did he run from? Because they were going to give him Volkanovski again. They were going to make Volkanovski versus Ilya 2. Ilya beats Lopez. Like, let's be honest. He beats Lopez. And Masvidal was not even going to get a title shot. And he's still not getting a title shot. I'm going to make another video on that. How does Masvidal not get a title shot? And you're going to give it to Yair Rodriguez. But we're going to talk about it in another video. I go on to say, well, this guy goes on to say he ran from people with a win streak. Masvidal's a real contender. He ducked him in every interview. Brother, Masvidal wasn't in the title picture at the time. He wasn't, and I said it here. Did you not watch my video? Masvidal wasn't in the title picture at the time. And Masvidal is not even getting a title shot against Volkanovski, which I think he deserves. But the UFC is ass right now. This guy goes on to say, he is in the title picture. What year are you living in? He's not in the title. He's in the title picture? Yes. In the UFC's eyes? No. But he says Ilya ducked him. Brother, at the time when he beat Aljo, he was not in the title picture. He came with excuses that he doesn't finish anybody to avoid fights against a real contender. He only wants a bigger fight, bigger status fighter with a bigger name. It's less risk for his brand. He came up with the excuse that he can't make weight anymore to try and get a fight against a big name in another division. He is a real duck. He doesn't want to put his belt on the line against fighters with less or no names who pose a real threat. You want to reward this duck again. You already rewarded this duck after a win against a 38-year-old fighter who came from a submission loss. You rewarded this duck with a title fight against beating a grandpa. This guy right here is an Islam meat rider, because the 38-year-old fighter he's talking about is Josh Emmett. First of all, he doesn't even say names, but I already knew what he was talking about. Emmett was coming off the submission loss against Yair Rodriguez. Emmett at the time was the #1 contender because Yair Rodriguez had won the interim belt, and they were going to make Yair Rodriguez versus Volk. And now you're saying that Volk is a grandpa, when Volk is 36-year-old. He's 36 years old and he just reclaimed the belt. Break in history. This guy right here is an Islam meat rider. And obviously Ilia Topuria wants the bigger fights. He's at the top already. He wants the bigger fights. And first of all, you're saying that he ducked Masvidal when Masvidal wasn't in the title picture. And he's not even in the title picture right now because the UFC doesn't like him. Because he doesn't finish anybody and he's a boring fighter. Yes, it's true. But I still think Masvidal should have fought Volkanovski, bro. But they're going to make Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez, bro. But this guy right here doesn't get it. I literally say Masvidal was not in the title picture after beating Aljo. Diego Lopez was next, for sure, after Ilya beat Volk in the second fight, or whatever could have happened in the second fight. And Masvidal doesn't have any finishes in his resume in the UFC, which is true. And of course Ilya wants the bigger fights. He wants to be the best. That's why he moved up to fight Islam. And he couldn't make the weight anymore, because if you look at what he looks like at lightweight right now, he's huge. He's bulking up and he looks huge. Ilya's legacy is going to be crazy because he only has big names right now. You keep saying that he was rewarded for beating Emmett, and he was. Emmett was the top contender at the time. Who was he going to fight next after Emmett? He wasn't going to fight Yair Rodriguez. Volk is old, but he just got the belt back, so stop talking like shit. I literally told this guy, like, yo, he's talking out of his ass. This guy right here, homie. True fans won't forget. They ran one day. There's a real challenge. Islam lost the first fight to Volk. JDM will KO him within 3 rounds. This guy right here, he's a hardcore. He knows what he's talking about. I said, I think JDM has a chance too. This guy goes on to say, Sturius, whatever. L take, honestly. Islam spoke about wanting to move up ages ago. Ilya came out of nowhere with a short span of time. If you have to fight every single human being that spawned out of nowhere, he'd never move up. Don't even bother responding. L take to call Islam a dog, and he hasn't destroyed the lightweight division, unlike John Jones' situation. This guy right here, Islam fan, for sure. The fact that you're saying that to call Islam as a duck is an L take. First of all, Ilya did not come out of nowhere, bro. He literally beat Volkanovski and Max, bro, two of the best featherweights of all time. And I go on to say it here. Look at Islam's wins. He hasn't destroyed the lightweight division. 5 out of the top 5 guys in the lightweight divisions ranked that he beat weren't even in their prime yet. Armin wasn't in his prime when he first fought him. And Ilya didn't just come out of nowhere. He just beat the 2 featherweight goats. One of them being Islam's best win in Volk. And Ilya wants the best fights. And after beating Moicano, he said that he would fight anybody who makes 155. So the UFC wanted to make Ilya versus Islam. And Islam didn't want the fight. He ducked Islam. Ilya Topuria. This guy goes, Islam is ducking Ilya, and that's a fact. He got the fight proposed, but denied. This guy right here, my homie. Yes, bro. There's too many people glazing Islam, bro. User, I don't even know who this guy is, brother, but some of these Islam fans, bro, you already know who they are when you can't even say like their username or whatever. But he goes, Topuria doesn't deserve it. He didn't clear his division, unlike Islam. Islam is fighting bigger guys, and you think he's ducking Topuria? The MMA casual logic, brother. He's going to fight JDM, a welterweight who's a bigger guy, yes, but he ducked Topuria, dude. Topuria beat 2 featherweight goats, man. He beat 2 featherweight goats and decided, you know what, I'm gonna move on to challenge Islam, who just said, fight me at 155. I then go on to say, Islam was scared to fight someone who beat Volk, and that's Islam's best win. Ilya's looking for the big fights, and he wanted to give us the biggest fight of the year. He goes on to say Islam's best win is Oliveira, not Volk. That comes second. That's how I know right here this guy doesn't know what he's saying. To say that Oliveira is Islam's best win is crazy. And I go after this guy. He says Oliveira was on the verge of greatness for casuals. Islam showed the levels. I'm telling you, this guy doesn't know what he's saying. I say you can't say Oliveira is his best win when Volk is second to Islam on the GOAT list. And Oliveira lost to Armin, and Volk gave Islam his toughest fight in the first fight. They went to a decision. He goes on to say Islam made his intentions clear of moving up to welterweight long before Topuria even became champ. Let me refresh your memory. Islam signed a contract on a condition that if Bilal wins, he would fight Oliveira or Topuria. And if Bilal loses, he would move up. This guy right here, first of all, he's lying, because it wasn't going to be Oliveira or Topuria. Because Dana White said it at the press conference that if Bilal won, we were going to get the fight. Ilya versus, Islam. This guy right here is just talking out of his ass. And he goes on to say Bilal lost and Islam is moving up, as per the deal. Why you haters crying about it? Topuria didn't fought Evloev or Diego Lopez either. Because they were going to make Volkanovski 2. They were going to make Topuria versus Volkanovski 2. Some of these guys they just forget that. He has 3 wins in the top 10 of his division. Islam has 5 wins of his top 5 of the division. So keep crying, cry loud. Islam is the bigger fight. Islam is the bigger and best fighter and is going for his second belt. And he stated way before Topuria became a champ, the casuals are the meat riders. You all cry that Islam is a weight bully, doesn't move up, and fights featherweights. And when he actually moves up, the ducking allegations. Even if he beats Topuria, you would create a content downplaying his win fighting a featherweight. That's why you know he's an Islam glazer. You don't understand that his best wins are against featherweights because it's lighter man skill. Lighter man skill, obviously, but calling casuals meat riders to Ilya, I don't like, this guy just got mad. And then he goes on to say, well, Topuria went on a decision. He went on a decision against Josh Emmett. Couldn't finish him. Josh Emmett was the number 1 contender at the time, dude. Just lost to Yair. But then he goes on to say, Islam went on a decision against Volk. Emmett isn't even champ, but Volk is. Difference. What, like, brother, what are you saying? And Oliveira has almost cleared the top 5 when he went to fight, when he went into fighting Islam, bro. These guys don't have grammar. He lost, and casuals were acting as if Oliveira isn't great anymore. Nobody said Oliveira isn't great anymore, but if you look at his last couple fights, he lost to Armin. He beat Michael Chandler, but Patty just finished destroying Michael Chandler. Islam had the toughest fight against Volk, but his best win is against Oliveira because he was the lightweight champ. That right there didn't make sense. Like, how are you going to say his toughest fight was against Volk? 5 rounds, went to a decision, could have gone either way, but his best win is against Oliveira because he was the lightweight champion. He then goes on to say, even though he missed weight and got stripped, which was another like crazy, yo, for real, like, come on, which shouldn't have been the case in the first place. And Oliveira was on an 11-fight win streak. That was incredible. Islam's win over Volk and Islam's win over Oliveira and Volk are greater than any Topuria's whole UFC career, whatever. He got mad. This guy right here is an Islam and Oliveira fan. For sure. No, there's nothing wrong with being a fan of Oliveira, but you can't be saying that that Islam's best win is against Oliveira when Volk is higher on the pound for pound list. Bro, and I go on to say here, the reason why the UFC agreed that if Bilal won, the fight would have happened. Because Islam was giving the UFC a tough time. Topuria didn't want to fight Evloev. No, Topuria didn't fight Evloev or Diego Lopez because they were going to make Volkanovski versus Ilya 2. Masvidal wasn't even in the picture at the time. And nobody's calling Islam a weight bully. Not even I did. This guy just was mad. This guy goes on to say he fought everyone in the division. What are you talking about? Whatever. He did, bro. He really did. Like, Islam fought everybody in the division, but Armin wasn't in his prime. They were gonna make Oliveira 2 before the nasty cut, and then Volkanovski had to come in on 10 days notice. Like, these guys, dude, they get mad when they hear duck. Like, for real, they do. And I go on to say, okay, Topuria was still gonna fight for the belt after beating Emmett, and Ilya has wins against Max and Volk. If he beats Oliveira, Ilya's resume would look amazing. If you know Volk is higher, and you know Volk is higher than Oliveira on the GOAT list, so you can't say Oliveira's his best win. Only had 1 title defense, while Volk had way more. This guy goes on to say, technically, Oliveira has 1 title defense. I literally just said it right here, but whatever. He goes on to say, but the majority consensus is that he has 2. And Oliveira had wins over Chandler, Poirier, Gagey, Tony, and Dariush. Tony's doo-doo caca when he fought him and beat him. Dariush was a top contender at the time, but is not that good. The Gagey and Poirier wins were good. Chandler win, the first one, obviously, when Chandler came into the UFC was alright, but after that, it just showed that Chandler was not, like, good for the UFC. He goes on to say those all were top 5 wins when he fought them. If it took Oliveira 8 fights to fight for a title, Volk and Topuria got their title shots after 6 wins. Featherweight isn't as stacked as lightweight. In fact, no divisions are as stacked of fighters as lightweight since a decade ago. The closest has been bantamweight. Bantamweight division is dead right now if they're making O'Malley versus Merab 2, because I don't know why the UFC made that fight. We're not gonna talk about that, but that's one of the reasons why nobody has more than 4 title defenses in either division. Volk is a featherweight GOAT. Yes, he is higher than Oliveira on the GOAT list, but so does Oliveira higher over Max Holloway. You see, this guy he's just talking out of his ass because, like, Max Holloway was a better champ than Oliveira. Yes, Oliveira has better wins, but Max Holloway, dude, beat prime Dustin Poirier twice, brother. But we're not gonna get into that. He goes on to say Islam has wins over 3 top GOATs: Oliveira, Volk, and Poirier. Poirier never got the undisputed belt. He got the interim belt. He goes on to say Arman probably might be champ in the future as well. Topuria has wins over 2 champs, Max and Volk, impressive wins, but isn't considered a top 3 GOAT of the featherweight division. Obviously, but he still beat the top, the GOATs at the time. These guys, I swear, like, these guys pissed me off so bad in this video. I mean, when I was writing these comments. But he goes on to say, but Islam is considered the GOAT of his division because Islam had enough title defenses. Topuria doesn't. Islam giving UFC tough time. Sources, trust me, bro. This guy right here, he just was talking out of his ass, and I was like, you're funny, but you're just an Islam meat writer. Wins against Volk. The first fight against Volk was close. Why are you just giving excuses saying Oliveira was the best win? And he goes on to say because Volk isn't a lightweight. It doesn't matter if Volk was in a lightweight, dude. He was fighting up at the weight class because he was ready to go double champ status. This guy right here says cope. Me and this guy, we fought it out for a while. He said, so how about the fact that Ilya is ducking Masvidal and is willing to give up the featherweight belt just to go up and get a paycheck? I'm like, brother, he never ducked Masvidal because Masvidal was in the title picture. I hate these Islam fans when they use that as an excuse, especially now that Masvidal is not getting the title shot against Volkanovski. This guy goes on to say casual. That's my boy right there. He says you're a casual to this guy. And then he goes on to clap back to this guy and say, you're just an Ilya fanboy. This guy just said cope but didn't want to fight or make a debate. This guy goes on to say you were a casual. Masvidal wasn't even in the conversation. That's why I was like, brother, some of these guys, they just talk out of their ass, bro. Masvidal wasn't in the title conversation when Ilya Topuria was gonna fight Volkanovski for the second belt. These Islam fans just meat ride so hard that they just don't get off the meat. But he goes on to say, no, you're a casual to this guy. Everyone knows that he is the dark horse of the featherweight division. Ilya doesn't want any smoke with him, just like how he didn't want anything to do with Arman. I feel like this guy is Russian right here and just wanted, to just clap back. But I did go on to say, dude, did you not watch my video? Masvidal wasn't even in the conversation, and Ilya wanted the bigger fight. Nah, Ilya wanted special treatment in the lightweight for the belt, but he cried when Islam was doing what he's doing as well in welterweight. Doesn't even know doesn't know how to type or text. I don't know what are these guys saying, but I go on to say it wasn't special treatment. Ilya wanted the bigger fight, and the UFC wanted the bigger fight, and they agreed. But Islam didn't because he was a duck. Because he was going to look bad if he lost to... It's going to look bad if Islam loses to JDM. But he goes on to say, how is it a bigger fight? Ilya's not special like Conor. Like, nobody was talking about Conor. He goes on to say he beat nobody in lightweight. He's moving up to fight Islam for the lightweight belt. He beat Volk, who was on a 2-fight losing streak. Meanwhile, Islam beat number 1 pound for pound Volk, who was on a 12-fight win streak, and number 3 pound for pound Charles on his 11th fight win streak. Islam's on his 4th title defense, meanwhile, Ilya got scared and moved up. Didn't even want to defend against the true contender like Masvidal. He kept going on the same conversation or whatever, and I just kept saying, bro, he's gonna here. I don't know. I got tired of talking to this guy and arguing with this guy, but I kept arguing with him. Like, he just kept saying the same excuses. Charles is 38. He barely beat Chandler and Armin. Only casuals think Charles is still on his prime. But he will beat Charles. But no, then he goes on to say Charles will beat your boy, and yet you're again your guy who's belittling JDM. I don't know. Then he goes on to send me like a short saying that Masvidal guy, is not getting the title shot. Whatever. We go on to like, I just like stop talking to him. This guy goes on to say, I'm tired of Glazers defending Islam. I'm a big fan of Islam, but he is ducking Ilya, and it's just facts. My homie right there, dude. Like, let's be honest right now. It's the truth, but some of these Islam meat writers, they don't care. And it's really just the whole thing for this video, bro. I wanted to get to one more guy, though, because I don't want to make this video super long, because it's literally just the same thing, bro. But I wanted to get to this guy right here, Traffic 89, 8 Traffic Kids. He traffics kids, bro. Traffics kids. This guy right here, we went to war. We literally went to war, and this guy got so butthurt, he started talking about religion, and that I was a hater for Islam, and I was a super hater for Islam. And he goes, it's a lot, so I'm gonna like skim through this, because it started off with this guy right here, saying, you are. I don't even want to read to this guy because it was irrelevant. I said you're such like. It's the same excuse that every Islam fan makes, bro. That that you're gonna say that and he was saying that Islam wasn't even a star, bro. When Islam's in like an NFL commercial right now. You guys can go on to read these comments right here, but I wanted to get to Traffic Kids. He goes, "You are funny. Ilya could have fought another fighter could have fought a fight in featherweight. He hasn't fought since October. He ran away from featherweights. He beat Volk, who came back too early from a brutal head kick. He fought Holloway, who had to cut many weight on short notice after fighting his Gagey. After his fight against Gagey. Ilya went to a decision against the 38-year-old Emmett. This is an Islam glazer when they're going on to say he went on a decision to go on a 38-year-old Emmett, dude. Whatever. He goes on to say Islam has never been offered a fight against Ilya. You just made that up. You can show me where the UFC has said this. The UFC wanted for them. The UFC waited for I don't know what he said, for the title fight, the welterweight title fight to be made, to make plans for the Islam and Ilya, I guess. It's also nonsensical to fight another featherweight. It doesn't make sense. He meant it's also nonsensical. I don't know what these guys don't know how to type, bro. It doesn't do anything for his legacy for Islam. You're saying that beating Ilya doesn't do anything for Islam's legacy, but it does. These guys are just Islam meat writers. Ilya ran away from the featherweight division to avoid fighters on a real win streak. If Islam beats Ilya, the legacy of Ilya is not affected, and the legacy of Islam is not increased. You are a casual. Islam's first fight against Volk was close, could have lost. His second fight was against Volk, where he was coming off the couch. Volk didn't even have to make. He didn't have to. I was saying Holloway didn't have to. Like, I'm stuttering right now because this guy right here really pissed me off, and having to read this back was like so dumb. But Holloway didn't have to make like such tough of a weight cut to fight Gagey. He didn't even take that much damage. And when Ilya beat Emmett, he had just lost to Yair for the interim belt. So stop with the BS. The UFC offered Islam this fight when Topuria moved up, and they said it in the UFC 315 press conference that if Bilal won, they would make that fight. That was the deal. And Ilya is a better win than JDM. Ilya has a way better legacy and resume than JDM. Stop glazing Islam so much because everything you had just said made no sense. He goes on to say, the first fight wasn't close. Islam won 4 rounds easily. You already know he's an Islam glazer. That fight was close and it was 2-2. The last round, he only won the last 90 seconds. He beat Volk in his own country within less time to weight cut. He also had to fight, first of all, with the less time to weight cut, he went through a whole training camp. He had trouble cutting weight, and there was IV allegations, brother. He also had to fight on an absurd time. He said he still beats him both on the ground and on... Bro, Volk was stuffing this man's takedowns. I literally saw that fight again, like later on, like today, and he literally stuffed his takedowns. Volk was doing good on the feet. But then this right here, this is what pissed me off. This guy said Volk didn't come off the couch. He literally took the fight claiming he was ready. Brother. Oliveira had the nasty cut over his eye, and Volk came in short notice. He didn't have a full training camp. The Athletic Commission also judged that he was ready. Dude, the Athletic Commission doesn't have to say if you're ready or not to go fight. Like, you just have to make the weight and that's it. You should just stop with your excuses. The fight against Ilya was conditional. The UFC did not offer an unconditional fight to Ilya. You just made that up. You have already considered that the UFC only wants to make that offer if JDM wins. You have not shown evidence that the UFC offered Islam a fight against Ilya independent of the welterweight belt. It is not the first offer of a fight. If it is not his first offer of a fight at welterweight, they offered him a fight last year against Leon Edwards in Ramadan. That's not true, bro. He keeps coming to that. I don't know why he keeps coming to that, but he does. Ilya is not a better win. Ilya is a featherweight who was knocked down at lightweight against Jai Herbert, dude. He only got caught by Jai Herbert by a leg kick, brother. Like, you're whatever. He goes on to say he won against a leftover Islam. He won against a leftover of Islam's. Volk came back very quickly after a brutal head kick. That's what I'm saying, bro. These guys. Holloway had to bulk up and lose weight in a couple months. Brother, Holloway literally walks. This guy right here, bro. He just pissed me off, bro. And he kept saying that Emmett was 38, who was choked up by a year or whatever. I go on to say, go watch the fight again. It was 2-2 going on to the 5th. Volk took down Islam in the last seconds. So if you're saying Volk won that round, you're meaning it could have been a close fight. In the UFC 315 press conference, Dana White confirmed that if Bilal won, Ilya versus Islam was going to happen because they flew out to meet up with him. Islam, they moved to meet Islam to make that agreement, and that was the agreement because he did not want to fight Ilya. Islam was never offered a fight against Leon because Leon had just fought Usman and then Bilal. Topuria has better wins than JDM. JDM's best win is against Bilal Muhammad, while Ilya's KO'd Max and Volk. Max didn't struggle to make weight, so stop lying. And Volk wanted to be active when he lost to Islam. And now he has the belt back, and Emmett was the #1 contender at the time when Ilya fought him, so stop acting like Emmett was shit. I was just mad. So I was like, yo, get Islam's meat out of your mouth. This is where he gets like super duper mad, brother. This guy right here, I've watched the fight 10 times. Islam won 4 out of 1. Only a bigot, I don't even know what that is, will claim a close fight. All the shots and kicks were from Islam. He also took Volk down several times. The only time he took down Volk was in the 4th round. Every single time Volk got right back up and was stuffing the takedowns. He won both on the feet and ground. He even knocked him down. Islam clearly won that fight, if only because you hate Islam. You want to try and sell a narrative of a close fight. You just hate him because of his religion and ethnicity. Right there, I knew this guy was super heated, and this guy is a Dakistani glazer, meat rider, all that. You are not an objective, he goes on to say. That's why you're trying to push this absurd narrative that Islam ran away from Ilya. You try to target the names of fighters you hate. This guy started getting mad. He started getting mad. Do you know what category of people you are? The same people who tried to argue that Volk won the round while Islam had his back for the entire round. I don't expect any serious discussions with people like you. Your objectives and sentence and criteria to target specific fighters. You are not honest people. I'm not even going to go on because this video is going to get too long. And this guy right here, dude, these Islam glazers, these meat riders, dude, they don't know what to say, man. They just meat ride Islam, bro. And when they hear the word duck, they get mad, bro. They really do get mad. But I'm Jane Epps MMA. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section about these Islam meat riders. But I'm out.